So this is me. Forever Fitness, Sammy Northland. So just a little bit about me, why you should even listen to me, who I am. I have been training for almost 7 years now. I was actually a stay-at-home mom for most of my boys' life, but been through a lot of stuff, and a lot of the reason I do what I do is because of my own personal experience with gut health, gut issues, and all of the chronic symptoms that came from that. And so really my passion now is to help people to be able to not have to deal with those things, to not have to live with chronic inflammatory symptoms, because I know it's not fun. Who wants to live with, the fatigue and the gut issues and, the all of those symptoms. You don't want to live like that, and you shouldn't have to. And I think there's so many people that think that it's just the way it's going to be. And that's how I was. I dealt with IBS for a long time and thought that it was just how my life was going to be, and came to find out that it didn't have to be that way. And there were things that you can do about it. So I am a personal trainer through NASM, certified through NASM with that, as a nutrition coach as well, and also as a corrective exercise specialist. But like I said, a lot of my experience has been life experience. I've dealt with gut issues for 20 years. And so a lot of it has, a lot of what I know and a lot of how I practice now with my clients has come through life experience. So the thing about me, I love working with people. I love helping people. That's what drives me. I feel most satisfied and most fulfilled when I'm helping people. So what you're seeing here is a little bit of me, but also some of the clients that I've worked with as well. I love to be able to help people be the best version of themselves possible, the healthiest version of themselves possible. A little bit about me more. Listen, I practice what I preach. Okay. So I'm not going to ask anyone to do anything that I haven't done myself. I walk this road. This is a daily thing for me. I live this. This is who I am, not just what I tell people to do. So you can know that going in, that this is not something that I'm just taking out of a book and throwing at you. This is my life and this is how I live. So that's why I preach it. So let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about what we're going to get into here. So we're going to talk about some of the most common issues that people face with inflammation, gut health, and just the essential habits that you really should have. One, for total wellness, but two, just to stay clear of gut issues in the future, but also the chronic inflammatory issues in the future as well. So let's go ahead and just we'll get into it. So top 10 of the most common issues that I find in working with people. Gut dysfunction is probably number one. So we're talking bloating, cramping, gas, constipation, diarrhea. It can go beyond that, even to acid reflux. But these are some of the most common gut problems that I'm seeing with most clients that I'm working with. Fatigue is probably number two on the list. And when I say fatigue, I mean not just, oh, I'm kind of tired. This is that full body tired where your muscles feel heavy, you feel it from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes, and you feel weak, you feel lethargic. That is fatigue. That is not just, oh, I'm kind of tired. So that is not a way that you want to live. I know I lived this way. When I was dealing with a lot of my stuff at the height of its, it definitely, I was training full time, and trying to even concentrate on clients was definitely a struggle for me because I was dealing with this fatigue, big time. And so, I know from experience, it's not fun to live with, and it's not something that, if you're trying to do a job and, excel at your job, fatigue is definitely not going to be what you want to be dealing with to do that. It holds you back in every way, shape, and form. So joint aches and pains, brain fog, inability to lose weight. And I think a lot of people are surprised by that one, but inability to lose weight is actually a chronic inflammatory symptom. That is a sign and a symptom that your body is dealing with inflammation and is not working with you, and that you need to start changing some stuff. So mood changes, anxiety, mood swings, those things are irritability. Those are all things that are linked to chronic inflammation as well. And I think a lot of people are also very surprised by that. But the thing is that all of this stuff is connected. So when you have any gut issues, a lot of times that will signal that you've got inflammation going on in your system. And your gut is actually called the second brain. We'll get into that a little bit more, but just know that inflammation can actually cause mood issues as well. Skin rashes is another one, lack of quality sleep, frequent infections. So if you're dealing with things like ear infections, sinus infections, bladder, UTI, that kind of stuff on a regular basis, you've got some inflammation in your system that needs to be dealt with. Headaches and migraines is also another one as well. That is a definite signal that there is some inflammation going on that needs to be dealt with. So those are just the top 10. There are honestly so many more symptoms that that I could probably list here, but these are the top ones that I see most people dealing with when they come to me and we start working together. So let's just venture into gut health and how important that is, because I think a lot of people have a tendency to just kind of think, if I'm not, here's the deal, just because you may not be having some of those gut dysfunction symptoms doesn't mean you don't necessarily have gut issues. And that's something that's surprising for a lot of people. But when you think about the fact that 70 to 80% of your immune system is actually in the gut. Okay. So what happens is when you have an unhealthy gut, likely what's happened is you have something called leaky gut. Leaky gut, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this, but leaky gut is when you have little perforations in the intestinal walls. Okay. So if you have those little tiny tears, what can happen is you can get bacteria, you can get fluid particles, you can get toxins that leak into the bloodstream. And then what happens is that immune system goes, oh, there's something foreign here. We need to take care of it. And so it starts attacking. So there's a lot of symptoms that can actually come from that. A lot of things that people deal with that they don't really necessarily think are gut issues, but that's where they started. They started right there in the gut. So unhealthy gut, honestly, it means an unhealthy you. It's going to present in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. It's never going to be the same for two different people, because we're all unique. But as I said, leaky gut can lead to a lot of other health challenges. And one of the things that I found is, especially with leaky gut, you end up with that bacteria that gets leaked into your system. Bacteria likes to make its home, and then it covers itself with a biofilm to protect itself so that it can continue to multiply. And that biofilm is really hard for bacteria to actually, for the immune system to actually break through. And so it's important to have the right plan, the right tools to be able to actually combat that in your system, because the more that bacteria grows, the more health issues that you're going to continue to find. So bacteria does like to make its home in stuff like your organs, your muscles, your fascia, joints and tendons, all of that kind of stuff. Those are nice homey places for bacteria to continue to grow. So just something to be aware of. If you're dealing with joint issues, you may have some bacterial issues going on, and that may be just a sign and symptom for you for that. So the gut-brain connection, like we talked about a little bit, is also very real. If we're talking about leaky gut, okay, you have bacteria that maybe has leaked out of your gut, that can actually cross the gut-brain axis and get into your brain, and then you end up with issues in, brain fog, not being able to, focus the way that you want to. Just any of your brain function can be affected by bacteria. And so definitely something to be aware of if you're having troubles with memory, concentrating the way you want to. All of that stuff can be affected by inflammation and bacteria stuff in your system. So if we just talk a little bit about what affects your gut health. So some of the main things that I found, packaged processed foods. That would be probably number one on my list of things that, are huge for affecting gut health, can cause leaky gut, can cause inflammation in your system. So this is the American diet, packaged processed foods on a regular basis. And I just had a conversation with someone the other day about this. And the thing is especially if you've got inflammation in your system, if you have to read a label to figure out what's in the food that you're eating, you probably shouldn't be eating it in the first place. And I would honestly say that's probably true for most people anyways, but especially if you're dealing with inflammation in your system, packaged processed food is not your friend, and I would steer clear of it. But medications is another one. There's a lot of people who are on medications, and the issue with a lot of medications is they can cause leaky gut, but they can also cause inflammation and also cause so you've got a chain reaction that happens in your system. So medication is what it's designed to do is to stop something from happening in your body that they don't want to happen. So something like acid reflux. Okay, you take an acid reflux medication that stops your body from being able to produce stomach acid. The problem with that is the chain that happens from there is you're not producing enough stomach acid. So then you're not being able to break down and process the food that you're eating regularly. And then you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need to. So you can see it's just this line, this chain of effects that causes health not to go well. So there's other things like the PPIs, those acid reflux medications cause, but that's just a small example of why medications really honestly are not they're not good. First of all, I know for some people they end up being last resort or they feel like it's their only resort, but there's always a way to get to the root of something and solve the root of the problem. That's what we really should be doing, is looking at the root of the problem and not at how to put a band-aid on something. Because if you just put a band-aid on it, you're not solving the problem, you're only making it worse. So alcohol is another one. So alcohol is actually one that, so there's been a lot of studies on this, and actually alcohol can, just even one drink can cause leaky gut. The inflammation that is caused by alcohol is actually pretty crazy. It is a toxin. It's recognized in your system, in your body as a toxin. There's not really a process in your system that is meant for breaking down alcohol. But it is an inflammation causer. So if you can, and I know you can, steer clear of alcohol. It's not a good thing. It causes inflammation. And especially if you have inflammation in your system, it's only going to make it worse. So self-care products, beauty products, household cleaning products, these are all things that I think a lot of people just don't really think about. But the thing is that your skin is the most porous, organ of your body. Okay. So if you're using products on a regular basis that have toxins in them, that have hormone disruptors in them, those things soak into your system. They get into your bloodstream and also cause issues with your gut, inflammation, all of that stuff. And so, really being mindful and careful of the products that you're using. I know that this can a lot of times seem super overwhelming. It feels like you have to do a complete overhaul. I would always, recommend just one thing at a time, just work on one thing at a time. But, there's definitely resources out there to look at. I can definitely drop a link there's a website called EWG, where you can actually look at the toxic level of products so that you know whether or not it's something you should be using. So chronic levels of stress as well can affect your gut health. So if you are dealing with stress on a regular basis, it is most definitely going to cause gut issues. And especially if it's something that you've dealt with in the past, you'll feel it almost immediately affect your gut. So it's just amazing how once again that gut brain connection is just real. So chronic lack of quality sleep as well can affect your gut health. Smoking and dehydration. These are some of the top things that can affect your gut health. And definitely there's more, but these are some of the most common ones that I see, and I feel like most people need to know about and be aware of. So essential habits. And I feel like I kind of missed one. I should have put hydration in here, because that honestly is definitely another that is very key in regards to essential habits to gut health, to total health, is making sure that you're staying as hydrated as possible. And I think a lot of people miss out on that aspect. They don't drink enough. I'm amazed on a regular basis at the amount that people don't drink. But so just know, hydration is definitely an important one. But nutrition, exercise, supplements if needed, and I'll get into that. Not everybody needs them, but there can be some definite, you know, for some people it's a necessity, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But sleep and stress management as well. So let's talk about nutrition. Okay, um, not a one size fits all thing. Okay, I cannot just give the same plan to everyone and have it work. Not one person is the same. There's going to be some foods that are gonna bother some that are not going to bother others. It's just reality. And what works for one in regards to weight loss may not work for another. But the one thing that I would say is what I feel is a truth that applies to everyone is the food that you eat on a daily basis does impact your gut health for good or bad. Okay, so what you're fueling your body with, what you're putting in consistently, is you're going to feel the effects of that, whether you feel that today or tomorrow or a year from now. It's going to affect you at some point. So I would recommend on a regular basis fueling your body consistently with one ingredient foods. It's just a good rule of thumb. If you have to look, like I said earlier, if you have to look at a package to read it to figure out whether or not you should eat it, you probably shouldn't be eating it. So one ingredient foods, things like lean proteins, vegetables, fruits, healthy fats. I throw grains in only because some people can tolerate them, some people can't. The issue that I have with grains on a whole is um, the amount of processing that a lot of them go through here in the US, and a lot of them are laden with toxins that they shouldn't be, laden with just because of the growth and all of that kind of stuff. So, grains is definitely an iffy one for me. And that would just be making sure that you're having organic ones and making sure that you're aware of how your body reacts to them. Okay. So I'm not a fan of just saying, hey, you can never indulge. Okay. But I think that there's ways that you can indulge without it being unhealthy, without it being something that's going to affect your gut. I'm regularly posting recipes for people because I want you to realize that there's healthier ways to be able to indulge in things like desserts, or even other foods. It's finding a way to make one ingredient foods into things that you enjoy. And that really is just a matter of taking the time to learn how to cook them and to season them right and all of that kind of stuff. So while I said that nutrition is not a one size fits all thing, like I said, I would always recommend one ingredient foods. So I would say eliminate and avoid packaged and processed foods. On a whole, I think that's a good rule of thumb for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, but especially if you deal with inflammation, that is a definite. Limit or eliminate sugar and sugar substitutes. And when I say sugar substitutes, I'm saying things like sucralose and, Splenda, those kind of things. Anything that is honestly has gone through a man-made process to make it is probably not something that you should be putting in your body on a regular basis. Every once in a while, it's not going to hurt you. Okay. But on a daily basis, the thing is that most people I don't think realize, you're having things like sucralose. Sucralose is in so many products. And, while they say it's safe in small doses, the problem is that people are eating packaged processed foods that have these things, sodas that have these things in them daily throughout the day. And so they're actually eating more of it than they really realize they're eating. So the damage that is causing to the gut, it's not good. So just eliminating those things, period, and veering towards natural sugars like honey, maple syrup, stevia, as long as it is one that is like natural. That is a plant-based sweetener. There's nothing bad about that one. It has gone through a process, but I saw a post the other day that really I was like, yes, he gets it. It's the ultra processed and highly processed things, the things that have gone through multiple processes to be made. Those are the foods that we need to be eliminating and avoiding because those are doing damage to our guts. So really focusing on lean meats, vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, and like I said, grains if you can tolerate them, as long as they are in that organic area. So exercise, let's talk about that. So exercise, just like nutrition, is not a one size fits all thing. I would never just give an exercise program to one person and then expect that to work for this other person over here. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own issues. Some have back issues, some have knee issues, some don't have any issues at all. But the thing is that one thing does apply to everyone. Lack of exercise does not do anyone any good. It's actually makes things worse. So the type and amount of exercise that is going to benefit you the most is really honestly going to depend. It's going to depend on your current health status, previous injuries, your exercise experience, your lifestyle, and what you have available. So, for example, let's say you're someone who deals with inflammation like I dealt with. I used to do HIIT on a regular basis. I don't know if you guys are familiar with HIIT, but it's high intensity interval training. And the thing about high intensity interval, I can't talk all of a sudden. High intensity interval training is that it is actually pretty hard on your nervous system if you do it too much, first of all, but if you do it too long as well. It's meant to be done in shorter bouts. It's very effective, and I absolutely love HIIT and just the the benefits of it. But if you are someone who deals with inflammation, it can actually make that inflammation worse. So knowing your body, knowing what's going on with your body and what you need is super important before you start on an exercise program. Moderate level exercise on a whole is what really is best for most people. So when I say moderate, I just mean, things like strength training, walking, biking, swimming, those things that you can do that are not super highly intensive, not super hard on the body. Those are very healing for you. So those are the things that I would definitely recommend to focus on. Walking, honestly, probably one of the most underrated exercises ever, actually. I think most people are like, oh, walking, I need to run, right? Problem is running can actually be super hard on your joints, your knees, a lot of stuff on your body. So some people, yes, they're made to run and they do great and have no issues. But honestly, walking, especially for anybody who's dealing with any type of inflammation in their system, this is what I would say on a regular basis, you need to be walking, getting those steps in, getting the cardio. So some of these benefits that I've listed for you: improves cardiovascular health, boosts your mental health, enhances weight management, supports immune function, strengthens muscles and bones. Like, why would you not do that? So just throwing that out there. Walking, honestly, like it's something everyone can do, really on a whole, unless there's, some physical limitation. Walking is a go-to on a regular basis. And I would say it's something that should be in your exercise program on a regular basis. Let me just admit someone else here. So let's talk about supplements here. Okay. So I know that it can be super confusing and overwhelming for a lot of people. Just trying to figure out, whether you need a supplement, which one to take. I mean, if you stand at the grocery store, you can see like literally there's so many different choices in front of you. What do I need? I don't know. Everybody tells you to take one thing. So here's the thing, not everyone necessarily needs supplements. Okay. Many just need to get the basics dialed in before they actually, they'll actually start to see their symptoms improve. But what I would recommend first, if you're going to take a supplement, is testing first. So look at your symptoms. Okay. What are you dealing with? And then look at testing, because honestly, if you don't need a supplement, there's no need to take it. Okay. So why waste your money? Why waste your money on taking something that you don't even need because your levels are fine? Are some of them going to hurt if you just try them? No, but like, why waste the money again if you don't need something? Like, seems like it would be way better plan of action to actually test, figure out if you need it, and then you can get to the root and figure out what it is that you actually need rather than just kind of trial and error. Okay. So what this does is this can create that baseline. So one, what needs to happen and you can reevaluate as needed. So, but a few of the ones that I would recommend on a regular basis for most of my clients, and these are ones that um, really are probiotic, and the L-glutamine and the vitamin D3 and K2. So these are three that I see on a regular basis. Now, the D3 and K2 is definitely one that, testing would be great, because if you are not needing D, then I would recommend don't take it. Okay. But most people on a whole do need it. Most people are pretty low on it because most of the time we see most people are inside, not getting the sunshine that they need. Therefore, they're deficient on D3. Okay. But the probiotic and L-glutamine, these are two that I can say on a regular basis. If you're dealing with symptoms of um, inflammation, you're dealing with gut issues at all, probiotic and L-glutamine, these two things are not going to hurt anything to take them. They're only going to help the issues. They're only going to help the symptoms to improve. So L-glutamine is one that it's an amino acid, but it has some great anti-inflammatory qualities to it. It's great for muscle as well as helping to heal the lining of the intestinal wall. So if you've got leaky gut going on, L-glutamine is definitely one of the first things that I would get you going on. The probiotic that I use for most of my clients, and that one is pictured here. A probiotic, a good one, is going to help to get in there and obviously like repopulate the good bacteria in your system. The beauty of the one that I use for clients is it, as we talked about earlier, if you've got bacteria leaked into your system because of the leaky gut, then they have then formed that biofilm around themselves to protect themselves. And this probiotic has a biofilm dissolver built into it. So it can go in and then it can help to dissolve that biofilm, and then it can help to repopulate, as well as helping to bind to that bacteria as it's killed off and removing it from the system. So it's got a lot of good qualities to it, but definitely with a probiotic, you want to make sure that, on a regular basis, good rule of thumb, if you're not having any of those issues, a probiotic would be good to rotate on a regular basis, monthly. Find a good one. Plant-based one, soil-based one is actually the best because it will last through the stomach acid and actually make it to the intestine where it's supposed to be. Okay. So let's move on to sleep. Quality sleep can be honestly the difference between you thriving and you just surviving. So lack of quality sleep can actually compound inflammation, gut dysfunction, weakened immune system, poor brain function, hormonal imbalances, all of these things. The less quality sleep that you have, the more that you're going to start to see some of these issues happening. And I don't know about you, but I've seen it before, even just in physical performance. So if I go into the gym, if I'm not sleeping well, I'm feeling it there. I'm not able to lift as heavy. I'm not able to, walk as far. I'm not able, I feel it. So quality sleep is definitely something that is important for everyone and should be addressed. It's definitely one of those base things that everyone needs to be working on. So three of the top things that I would look at first to improve that quality sleep is one, hydration. And I know that sounds a little funny, but the thing is hydration can actually make sure that your body's naturally making the melatonin that it needs to. So the hormone melatonin is natural in your body. So you want to make sure that rather than taking a melatonin supplement, which can actually cause its own issues if you're taking it, make sure you stay hydrated, because that can actually make sure that your body's making enough of melatonin on a regular basis that you can actually sleep well. So nightly routine, that is something that I think a lot of people are lacking in. And so really just making sure that you are, creating a space that you can fall asleep well in. Whatever that looks like for you. I know for myself, I need silence. So, some people need some white noise. But really looking at that, figuring out what works best for you and starting that routine, starting it, half an hour before I go to bed, hour before I go to bed, I'm off my screen, because that blue light screen is definitely disruption for your brain and keeps it running. And so, removing that, so that your brain can actually settle, and is ready for sleep when it comes time. And then just making sure that you've got that good sleep environment, whether, making sure that the room is cool enough, making sure that it's dark enough, making sure it's quiet enough. All of those things are important for quality sleep. And then exercise regularly. Honestly, most people would find if they just exercise consistently that they're actually going to, at the end of the night, they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready for sleep, because they push their bodies hard enough that the body needs it. And that is when you get the best recovery as well, is that quality sleep. So super important. So stress, let's talk about that a little bit. So the body honestly is built to handle stress, um, you know, in small amounts, okay, small doses. It's actually, you're not meant to not deal with stress ever. But the problem is that when it becomes chronic, when it's something that you're dealing with on a regular basis, it can actually negatively impact your health. So um, here's just five. And I'm saying five because there's a ton of them. There's a ton of ways that stress can actually affect your body, but just five of them: cardiovascular health, weakened immune system, again, digestive issues, mental health problems, hormonal imbalances, and weight fluctuations. All of these things can be caused by chronic stress in your life. So, three of the top things that I would say you can do to help decrease or improve your ability to deal with stress: nutrition. And I think that that honestly can surprise people. But let me just give you a little example. I have a client that I worked with that owned his own business, a lot of stress, a lot on his plate. And he found within the first 4 to 6 weeks of working together that changing his nutrition the way that we did, taking out all the packaged processed foods, taking out the sugars, all of that stuff, he found in that first 4 to 6 weeks that he was able to deal with the stress of work in a totally different way. He was not stressing, he wasn't anxious, and he was actually really surprised by it. Didn't surprise me at all, because it's amazing how much nutrition, when you're putting stuff in your body that's causing inflammation, how much that can actually affect your brain, your stress levels, all of that kind of stuff. It's a chain. Okay, it's all affected by it. So nutrition first and foremost. Regular exercise also. It is such a great way to de-stress. Exercising regularly, strength training regularly. These things can really help you to be able to deal with that stress. Walking. I know for myself, I found that walking is one of those times when I can actually clear my mind. It's a de-stressor for me. It's a time when I can decompress. So mindfulness and relaxation techniques, those can be super helpful, super important as well to incorporate on a regular basis. I know some people find journaling can be very helpful as well, and just really being able to get things out and process them, well. So I know for me, you can see pictured in here, that's me taking a walk. Sundays are my days when I go and walk by the river. And it allows me to just really have that decompression time, de-stress, and really just kind of process through things. So that regular exercise on a regular basis, incorporate that with the mindfulness. And that's gold right there, baby. So let's just get into it. You guys can go ahead and open up your mics a little bit, and I would just love to hear any questions that you guys have. No questions?
Yeah, I have questions. So the exercise part, what is the ideal amount in terms of because time is a constraint, and
Yeah.
the issue with uh, exercise and balance.
hmm
What is the like if you're doing it in a weekly basis, what would you suggest?
Well, and once again, like I said, it's not a one size fits all thing. And it really is going to depend on your schedule and what, because you also don't want that to be a stressor. You want that to be something that you look forward to, and it becomes a habit and it becomes a de-stressor for you. But on a whole, I would say if you're looking at what would be ideal for most people, 2 to 3 days a week is definitely what I would say is the minimum in regards to what would be beneficial, what's going to help you to see some results. But if you can find a way to do some short workouts 5 days a week, would be super beneficial. And what I would say for most people, maybe 2 to 3 days a week of doing some strength training and having those other 2 days be like some walking, some type of cardio. That would honestly for most people be, I feel like, doable to work into their schedule. And it doesn't need to be hour at a time. For a lot of people, 20, 30 minutes of workout, as long as you're efficient at what you do when you get in there and you just do the workout and don't have a lot of downtime, that can be super effective and helpful for a lot of people. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I mean, do workout, but just wanted to see, if there's a specific amount that you want to have in the balance because of time constraints. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like I said, I mean, that really obviously is going to be um, dependent on your schedule and what you can do. But 2 to 3 days a week at the least, I would say. But if you can fit in five, it would be, I think, the most beneficial for you overall. I mean, if we're talking about overall health. So yeah,
What
Sean.
is your thoughts on
Oh,
intermittent fasting that people think is that something that helps?
yeah. So give me a second here. Sean raised his hand. Let him go ahead
Oh,
and
sorry
ask
about
us.
that. Yeah.
That's totally fine. We'll come back to that one though. Okay.
I don't have a question. I just want to tell you it's your presentation was on point. All pure facts, no opinion.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So you said no question though? Okay. All right. So Luke,
Oh,
back to
yeah.
internet.
I was just asking about the impact of intermittent fasting. Is how effective has you seen that, or is that effective at all?
Yeah. So I think that I would say that that's mixed, if I'm going to be completely honest. I think there are some people that intermittent fasting can work great for. I have people that I know that swear by it. If For the people that I normally work with, though, people that deal with inflammation on a regular basis in their systems, and we're trying to decrease that, intermittent fasting is actually can be stressful for your body. So it's not something that I would normally recommend for most people that are trying to get healthy and like decrease inflammation in their systems. Only for the fact that, like I said, it's stressful on your body, and so that will, in itself, raise the inflammation in your system. Have you done it at all? Is it something that
No,
you have?
I
No,
don't want to do it. But
no.
I know people who don't eat till like noon or 11.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow. So I thought breakfast is like the most important meal, and they're missing breakfast, going straight to like,
yeah,
I don't know what
yeah,
that is, but
yeah. I think once again, I mean, you have so many different opinions and so much information out there in regards to, what works best and what you should do. And I think the problem with that is when it comes down to it, once again, it's not a one size fits all thing. So to say that everyone should do intermittent fasting or everyone should do keto or everyone should, eat breakfast, it really honestly
okay.
it's hard, because some people like uh, my son does not do well with breakfast in the morning. He actually, it kind of almost makes him a little sick to his stomach first thing in the morning. So he does better waiting a little bit longer. Whereas me, I wake up in the morning, I'm hungry, like feed me now. So it really is a very individual thing. So I think honestly, it really comes down to finding out, what do you need, what works best for your body, and doing that and sticking with that. Because just to follow a trend because everybody's doing it is honestly, it's to me, it's the silliest thing ever. Like you need to figure out what does your body need, not what so and so's body needs. You know, I would never work well at intermittent fasting, so I'm right there with you. Anybody else have any questions? Trevor, I see you there.
Hey, Sammy. Sorry I can't be on camera and I was
No, it's
late,
okay.
but I have a question for you. How do you know if you have leaky gut syndrome?
Ooh, okay. So the thing with leaky gut is, I mean, I think they do have some testing that you can do. to see whether or not you have leaky gut. But I'm going to guarantee that if you're dealing with gut dysfunction, if you're dealing with gut symptoms on a regular basis, and that is, anywhere from the bloating, the cramping, the gas, the diarrhea, acid reflux, constipation, if you're dealing with that stuff for any length of time, more than a month, you are likely dealing with some leaky gut. And I think a lot of that, the reason why I say that is because there's so many things that we are exposed to with our foods and our cleaning products and self-care products, all of that kind of stuff. I think more people than not actually deal with leaky gut than realize.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm very active, but I eat like shit, to be honest with you. And I know that. And I've tried all those things that you talked about. I've done intermittent fasting and protein diets and for multiple days, and some stuff has made me feel better. But I think the biggest thing is when I just cut out sugar. Like when I go on those things, I entirely cut out sugar. And as soon as I start eating sugar, everything swells up on me again, and it's noticeable. So
that is not
awesome.
surprising at all. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
And I just love it.
Let me know if you have any more questions about it.
Yeah, you sure will. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, you guys, any more questions? Catherine, you got anything for me? I can't hear you. I'm gonna ask.
I have a couple questions actually.
Yeah, go for it.
So coffee, where does that fit in with everything? Is it I've gone down because I honestly I think I'm realizing it really is upsetting to my digestive system, sadly. But like where I mean, is organic coffee okay, or is there any good coffee?
Is there any good coffee?
Or should I cut it out completely?
Well, here's what I would suggest. How often are you drinking it, and how much?
I usually have it I haven't the last couple mornings because I'm dealing with eye stuff, and I'm now on an antibiotic for that. So that combination was awful. So, but normally, usually like probably, I mean, they say a cup is 6 ounces. So I would say at least 2 cups in the morning. I don't have it later on in the day at all. But, and I usually put whole milk and maple syrup, which I'm sure is terrible, but
well,
anyway.
Not the maple syrup necessarily. It really, honestly, it's that once again is going to just depend on what else you've got symptom wise. That's kind of where I have a tendency to kind of dig in and want to know, like, what other symptoms are you dealing with before we go, you might want to cut it completely. But if it's something that you're because sometimes the problem is you have other stuff that maybe is actually causing the problem rather than the coffee itself.
Okay. But that's what I'm wondering. Yeah. And now I have to, and then what probiotic was that? The reason I'm asking is because I have to be on it twice a day for a month and then once a day for the next 2 months. So, I mean, this is I've never done this before, long-term antibiotics, and I'm just kind of not very excited, but it's this ocular rosacea that I have going on. So I'm wanting to get it calmed down, but
okay,
definitely need a probiotic.
Yeah. How about I go ahead and drop the link for you after this?
Okay.
I'll send you the link for it, for the website, for where you can where you can see that. Somebody drop something in the chat.
Perfect. And then
Awesome.
What was my other question? As far as like I'm overdue to get physical, is there certain blood work that shows inflammation or other things, hormone balance? Things to ask for?
Yeah, I would definitely, if you're going to go in for a physical, I would just ask them to do a complete workup, do the full CBC panel, and then ask them to look specifically at inflammation, ask them to specifically look at hormone levels. Once again, that really is dependent on like what symptoms that you're dealing with. And
Okay.
if that's something
Okay.
that you're, that you're interested in wanting to talk a little bit more about, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
A lot of times what I'll do is I'll schedule calls with people to kind
Yeah.
of dig in and really just go, hey,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you need some more help? More than what we've just talked about here. But yeah, I
Yeah.
would definitely look at having them do a full workup, have them do, like I said, the CBC panel, have them look at inflammation specifically, have them look at things like, if you're dealing with any energy levels, have them look at vitamin D, have them look at iron, those kind of
Okay.
things. It really, like I said, symptom wise, that's where it's hard. I mean, I can tell you a lot of
That's the
things to
risk.
look
Yeah.
at, but really it's going to be dependent on what symptoms you're dealing with.
Symptoms. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in regards to
right.
back to the coffee, let's just revisit the coffee. Honestly, there again, that's going to be a matter of like, what else are you dealing with? But I would, if you feel like that's something that specifically after you drink it is bothering your stomach, then I would definitely cut it out for a while.
And see if it's
And then reinsert it so that you can see whether or not it's actually what's
Yeah.
causing you an issue. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right.
I know.
Well,
It's always,
thank you.
it's never fun. So,
No, because it's especially when it's cold out.
yeah. You want something warm and cozy. I get it.
Yes,
So just
yes,
in
yes.
regards to like what would be next, if for some reason this is something where you're interested in applying to work with me, the next step is just to schedule a free discovery call. So for anyone that attended today, and decides to go ahead and sign up and work with me, I am adding 1 month of free training to their program. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, and I'm going to drop the link for scheduling a discovery call
Okay.
into the chat for you guys. So